Hi, I'm Thomas. I'm one of the student workers at the Digital Learning Studio, and I'm also studying abroad in the fall. So depending on which section you're in, I might be there with you and having to listen to myself talk. Um, as a bit of background, I was an exchange student in France prior to coming to Willamette, and so I'm going to talk about that a little bit later on in the presentation, and I don't want to seem like I'm just making everything up. So I figured I'd throw that out there. So today I'm going to be talking about VoiceThread and how to get started with it. And so the easiest way to access VoiceThread, if you're unfamiliar with it, is going to be going to the Y space for the study abroad course. And so it should give you a pop-up when you click VoiceThread in the sidebar over here. Um, and when you get there, it should populate an account for you through Wise, like with your Wise credentials. And so mine is sort of a little bit more built out because I've had to use it for work before. You'll probably have a lot less on there, but we can ignore that for now and just go to the create option in the upper left hand side to get started making one. And this will give you an option to start adding files that can be pictures or videos. And then once you've got those, you can start recording commentary over them. I'm going to go pull up a few to get those ready and then jump in and start explaining how to actually make the voice thread. Okay, so then once you know what you want to put into your presentation, I've got some pictures pulled over on the side here. You can just drag and drop them, um, and then it'll ask you for a title and a description. You can put in as much in detail as you want because it's mostly for you. So I'm going to put in a picture of Willamette. I'm going to put in a picture of Minnesota, where I am from, and then I'll put in a picture of where Minnesota is in the U.S. So then once you've got that, you can click on the little, oh, I don't want to edit it. You can go to comment and it'll pull up the picture itself. And so then you have the option of, you can put text on, you can add things, you can record a video of yourself talking about it, or you could just record the audio. So I'll just record a quick video. It'll give you a little countdown. And so I'm going to do it in English because I don't want to make everyone sit through me speaking French. So this is Willamette. It's where I go to school. It's in Oregon. Whatever you think like the people might be interested in, you might want to talk about like how big it is. You could talk about like what types of degrees you can get at Willamette because a lot of foreign higher education institutions are like maybe a little bit more technical focused than they are here, and so you might like go like to like physical therapy school, but there won't necessarily be like you won't be able to like major in English at physical therapy school. So like the things you can study are a little bit more pertinent. So once you've said what you want to say, you just hit stop recording, and it'll upload for you, depending on how long you talk for. And then you can either get rid of it. So I'm going to do it in English because I don't want. So you can watch it back, see what you think. It'll flip the video, and so it'll be opposite of what you think you look like, and that's always a very humbling experience, or at least it is for me. And so if you like what you see, you can save it, and then you've got it. It's gonna feel really weird to be like talking about yourself, particularly in another language. But again, you're gonna do that all the time when you're there. And so it's good to like do it here, have it feel weird, and then figure out like how to get better at it, rather than like having to sort of struggle through those interactions, because this is going to be like almost everybody you meet. You're gonna have to give them some version of this spiel. And so if I'm happy with this slide, I like what I've said, I can move on to the next one. Um, and it's the same process. I'll leave an audio recording. It'll count you in, or you can skip it. So I'll say, this is Minnesota. We've got a lot of lakes. This is a picture I took at a lake that I've grown up visiting. Um, you can say as much or as little as you like. And then again, stop recording. You can save it. I don't want to listen to myself again. It's bad enough to have to talk to myself. And so then this is one thing that I would really encourage people to get used to, because you will need to be able to explain where you're from, unless you're from California. If you're from California, you get it easy, but you don't deserve it. But everybody else, you're gonna have to explain where your state is. You're gonna have to explain where Oregon is. So it's good to have a picture like this in your back pocket for when you need it. But this is something you should be really comfortable talking through, because you're gonna have to do it all the time, because foreign geography is not anyone's strength. So you can leave a little comment to get yourself ready, and say, this is the state I'm from. For me, I would say it's in the middle and then all the way up north, right underneath Canada. For Oregon, you can say it's on top of California, and hopefully people will get it, but you never know. They'll just smile and nod, and you'll wonder if you said it wrong. But, that's the nature of the beast. But it's a good thing to have practiced, so that you're a little bit more confident with what you're saying. And if they don't get it, or if they don't have great geography, it's because of that, and not because you don't know what you're trying to say. So this is a good thing to practice having talked through. And so the pictures aren't necessary. Again, the format of VoiceThread isn't critical, but the benefit of it is that it just sort of gets you talking, and the talking is generally the thing that's hardest to replicate in the U.S., but it's sort of the most important thing when you're abroad. And so VoiceThread's a good way of just sort of accepting that it's going to be awkward. You're going to be talking to your computer alone in your room probably. But just knowing that you're going to have to do this, you might as well get through the awkwardness alone and try and get a little bit more comfortable with how those interactions sort of go, than not do that and then get there and have to figure it out in front of people, or filming yourself in your room. And once you have this VoiceThread, you don't have to publish it. It can just be something that's there for you. But if you publish it, other people can see it. The people you share it with can see it. And they can also leave comments of their own. And so if I was a different person, I could come back, and so I can see my own comment here. Hopefully it doesn't play immediately. And then I could leave my own comment and be like, oh, how many people go to Willamette? Or do you live on campus? Because not a lot of people do, in at least Europe. And then you can see the comments they leave, and you can have sort of a little bit of interaction. So it doesn't have to be public if you don't want it to be, but you sort of lose out on the chance for it to be an interactive thing if there's no one to interact with it. So I would encourage you all to think of this as something you might present, even though no person abroad is going to be like, hey, can you make us a voice thread? It's still something that's worth having, both to get yourself comfortable with it, and then as an actual thing to have, either for your own use or for sending to people, or letting people interact with it. So as weird as it might feel to have to do all this, again, alone in your room, or talking to your computer, it's definitely worth doing. It'll be good practice, and it'll help you out when you get abroad. All right. So this is just a bit of advice on conversations to be able to have, because you're going to meet a ton of new people and you're going to have to do some variation of these things with everyone you meet. And so the first one's pretty obvious, which is be able to introduce yourself. And then I kind of went over this before, but you want to be able to talk about where you're from and where that state is located. If you're from Oregon or if you're from California or New York, that'll be really easy because everyone knows those places. You probably won't get too many people that know where Oregon is, and so it's a good idea to be able to describe it and talk about some of the things that it's known for. Like you could say that Oregon's known for its rain and its forests, and that we grow Christmas trees here. And then you're going to want to be able to talk about what you're studying, and I know it can be a stressful question, but what you plan on doing for a career is always a good thing to be able to talk about because people will be very intrigued about that. And then if it's a longer conversation, or if you're meeting like your host family or someone you'll spend more time with, you'll probably get to talking about your family. And so you want to be able to talk about how many siblings you have, what their ages are, where they live, if they live outside of the house, and then what your parents and siblings do for a living. You'll also want to be able to talk about the country you're in. And so people will like to hear about what you think. They'll ask you a lot. And so it's good to have a few things to talk about, to say like what you like and compare it to where you're from. And then you'll also want to be able to explain why you chose to go to that particular country, because that gets into a lot of how the country is seen outside in the world, and people are really interested in hearing about their country and how other countries perceive their country. Um, and so then if you're talking to, some classmates or something like that, you'll probably want to be able to explain where you're living within your city, or, whether you have a host family or not. And so it might be a good idea to try and find out if you're living in, a neighborhood with a name, so you can say that and people can kind of situate it, and then, talk about the people you're staying with, if you're in a homestay, or, maybe you're in a university residence or something like that. And those will be things that you'll want to explain to your classmates. And then you'll want to be able to talk about how long you'll be there. And so you'll probably have like a set date that you're going to return. Um, and so that's a good thing to keep in mind. And then you'll want to talk about the things you're doing while you're there. And so that'll be what you're studying, but also like what you do when you're not studying. So if you have any vacations, where do you go on vacation, or places you visited or plan on visiting. And then lastly, be prepared to talk politics, because they're going to be really curious about what's going on in American politics, because a lot of that news gets passed on to other countries in a way that we don't necessarily hear about politics in other countries. But weird snippets of our politics will come through, and so um, you might get questions about like something Trump did 3 years ago, or what you think about Obama. Like there's going to be a weird mix of things, but definitely expect to have to talk about it, and understand that like they're not expecting like a super big answer. They're mostly looking for your opinion, and so you don't have to like have a big speech planned out. But it is a good idea to know a little bit about the politics there, so you can compare and say like, okay, so this party in America sort of corresponds to this party here. um, and you don't need to know a ton to do that. You can say that you're not a big politics person. That's all right, but expect to get a lot of questions about it.